Imagine discovering that the person sworn to protect lives was accused of taking them. For years, tragedy followed one South African family. A relative died, then another, and another. Each death was heartbreaking on its own, but together they formed a pattern that investigators could no longer ignore. The woman at the center of those tragedies was not a stranger. She was a police officer. She attended funerals, comforted grieving relatives, and appeared to be another victim of unimaginable loss. But behind the scenes, investigators began asking a disturbing question. Was this simply a series of terrible coincidences? Or was someone using death for profit? This is the true story of Rosemary Ndlovu, a woman whose case shocked South Africa and led to one of the country's most talked about criminal trials. Rosemary Ndlovu served as a police officer with the South African Police Service. To many people, she appeared to be a respected member of the community. Wearing a police uniform often earns trust, and few people imagined she would one day become the subject of a major murder investigation. Outside of work, Rosemary lived what seemed like an ordinary life. She had family members, friends, and colleagues who knew her as someone carrying out her daily responsibilities. But over the years, tragedy seemed to surround her. Several people close to her died in separate incidents. Family members mourned, held funerals, and tried to move forward after each devastating loss. At first, no one believed the deaths were connected. After all, tragic events can happen in any family. However, investigators eventually noticed something unusual. Many of the people who died had life insurance policies, and Rosemary was connected to the payouts. That discovery marked the beginning of an investigation that would uncover a much larger and darker story. The question was no longer whether these deaths were connected. The question became who stood to benefit from them. And according to prosecutors, the answer pointed in one direction: Rosemary Ndlovu. As investigators examined the deaths more closely, one detail kept appearing again and again: life insurance policies. According to prosecutors, several of Rosemary and Ndlovu's relatives had been insured, and after their deaths, insurance claims were submitted. While owning life insurance is common, investigators believed the repeated pattern of deaths, followed by financial payouts, was too unusual to ignore. Police began gathering documents, reviewing financial records, and interviewing witnesses. They compared timelines, examined insurance policies, and looked at who benefited after each death. The investigation grew larger with every new piece of evidence. Authorities believed the deaths were not isolated tragedies but part of a carefully planned scheme, motivated by financial gain. The case that once seemed impossible to prove was slowly coming together. But investigators still faced one major problem. They needed direct evidence. Without it, suspicions alone would not be enough to secure a conviction in court. So detectives came up with a bold plan. Instead of waiting for another tragedy, investigators decided to act. They launched an undercover operation. Police officers posed as hitmen and secretly arranged a meeting with Rosemary Ndlovu. Hidden recording devices captured the conversations. According to the prosecution, Rosemary discussed arranging the murder of another close relative, her own sister, for financial gain. During the meeting, she allegedly talked about payment, timing, and how the killing should be carried out. For investigators, the undercover recordings became a turning point. What had once been a case built on suspicious patterns and financial records now included conversations that prosecutors argued revealed criminal intent. After gathering enough evidence, police moved in. Rosemary Ndlovu was arrested and charged with multiple serious offenses, including murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud-related crimes. The arrest made headlines across South Africa. People struggled to understand how someone entrusted with enforcing the law could stand accused of such shocking crimes. But the biggest test was still to come. The courtroom would decide whether the evidence proved the prosecution's case beyond a reasonable doubt. When the trial began, it quickly became one of South Africa's most closely watched criminal cases. Prosecutors argued that the deaths were not a series of tragic coincidences. They alleged that Rosemary Ndlovu had orchestrated the killings to collect life insurance payouts. The court heard testimony from investigators, insurance officials, forensic experts, and other witnesses. Financial records, insurance documents, and the undercover recordings formed a key part of the prosecution's case. The defense challenged the allegations and questioned aspects of the evidence, arguing that the prosecution had not proved every accusation beyond a reasonable doubt. Over weeks of testimony, the courtroom was filled with emotional moments as family members listened to details about the deaths of their loved ones. The judge carefully considered all the evidence before reaching a decision. After hearing the evidence, the court found Rosemary Ndlovu guilty on multiple counts, including murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud-related offenses. The verdict marked the end of a lengthy investigation that had begun with a simple question. Why did so many people connected to one woman keep dying? The court concluded that the prosecution had proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. For the victims' families, the judgment brought a measure of justice, though it could never erase the pain of losing those they loved. Rosemary Ndlovu was sentenced to multiple terms of life imprisonment, along with additional years for related offenses. The sentence ensured she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. The case sent shockwaves across South Africa. It was not only the scale of the crimes that stunned the public, it was the fact that the person convicted had once worn a police uniform and was expected to uphold the law. Cases like Rosemary Ndlovu's remind us that appearances can be deeply misleading. A trusted profession does not guarantee trustworthy actions. The investigation took years of careful police work, financial analysis, witness testimony, and an undercover operation before the truth, as determined by the court, emerged. For the families of the victims, no sentence could restore the lives that were lost. But the convictions brought accountability and closed one of South Africa's most disturbing criminal cases. If this story taught us anything, it is that justice often takes time, but persistent investigation can uncover even the darkest secrets. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary and would like to see more carefully researched true crime stories from around the world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay safe, and remember that sometimes the most dangerous secrets are hidden in plain sight.